It's 3:47 a.m. You've been awake for the past hour and a half. Your mind won't stop. Your body feels simultaneously exhausted and tense, like you're running a marathon while lying perfectly still. You've tried everything. Deeper breathing, counting backwards, mentally relaxing each muscle group. Nothing works. You just lie there, watching the minutes crawl forward on the clock, knowing that morning will arrive in a few hours and you'll face another day utterly depleted. This has been your reality for months, maybe years. You've stopped telling people how tired you are because you're tired of hearing the same suggestions. Have you tried melatonin? What about a white noise machine? Maybe you should exercise more. You've tried it all. You've spent thousands of dollars on solutions. Sleep medications that leave you groggy. Supplements that work for a week, then fail. Sleep devices that promised everything and delivered nothing. And the cruelest part? You remember what sleep used to feel like. You remember closing your eyes and waking 8 hours later, genuinely rested, ready for the day. You remember energy that didn't require coffee to access. You remember a mind that was clear, focused, and capable. You remember feeling like yourself. That version of you, that person who could sleep deeply, you assumed that person was gone forever. That aging had stolen that capacity, that you'd simply have to accept chronic fatigue as the price of getting older. What if I told you that person is still there? What if I told you that your capacity for 8-hour sleep cycles hasn't been lost? It's simply been waiting for one specific signal from your body. What if I told you that 1 tablespoon of something you can buy for less than $1 could restore your sleep in just 2 weeks? I know how that sounds. After everything you've tried, after all the disappointments, skepticism is completely reasonable. But what if this time the answer isn't complicated? What if this time the solution is so simple that once you understand it, you'll wonder why nobody told you sooner? So I'm asking you for something very simple today. Stay with me. Watch the entire video. Don't skip to the end. Let the science unfold. Let your understanding deepen, because the promise of this solution only becomes real when you understand why it works. Because here's what I know with absolute certainty. When you experience 8 hours of genuine sleep, when you wake naturally, feeling truly rested, remembering what vitality feels like, your life changes, not subtly, profoundly. Everything becomes different when you're rested. Everything becomes possible. And that transformation begins with understanding one simple truth about your body, one truth that changes everything. Are you ready to reclaim your sleep? Are you ready to feel what 8 hours of genuine rest feels like? Are you ready to become the version of yourself who wakes refreshed and ready for life? Then let's dive in. Let's uncover the truth about your cortisol. Let's understand what your body actually needs, and let's chart a path toward nights of deep, restorative sleep that will transform your entire life. Your sleep is waiting. Your body is ready to heal. Let's begin. The cortisol-glucose connection represents one of the most fundamental yet overlooked relationships in human physiology, especially for aging bodies struggling with sleep. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone, produced by the adrenal glands in response to perceived threats or metabolic emergencies. Under normal circumstances, cortisol follows a predictable circadian rhythm, high in early morning to mobilize energy and promote wakefulness, then gradually declining throughout the day to allow sleep onset in the evening. However, this elegant rhythm depends entirely on adequate fuel availability, particularly glycogen stores in your liver. Your liver functions as your brain's personal fuel bank. It stores glucose in the form of glycogen, maintaining this reserve specifically to sustain your brain throughout sleep when you're not consuming food. Your brain consumes approximately 120 grams of glucose daily, and roughly 20-25% of this consumption occurs during sleep hours. As you progress through your day, thinking, remembering, planning, worrying, you systematically deplete these glycogen stores. By nighttime, if your liver glycogen is insufficient, your body interprets this as a genuine metabolic emergency, similar to starvation conditions. In response, your adrenal glands release cortisol as a survival mechanism to convert muscle tissue into glucose, ensuring your brain receives fuel to survive the night. This cortisol surge is profoundly counterproductive to sleep. Cortisol activates your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, triggering alertness, elevated heart rate, and mental activation. Your body cannot simultaneously experience cortisol elevation and enter deep sleep. 1 tablespoon of honey provides approximately 17 grams of glucose and fructose, precisely the amount your liver needs to maintain adequate glycogen reserves through the night. When your liver glycogen is replenished, this metabolic emergency signal never occurs. Your adrenal glands remain calm. Cortisol production drops 30-40% compared to nights of inadequate glycogen. Your nervous system receives the biological signal of safety. Fuel is available, rest is permitted, survival is assured. Only when this signal reaches your nervous system does your physiology permit the parasympathetic activation necessary for genuine sleep. Sleep architecture refers to the organized structure of sleep cycles, the predictable progression through different sleep stages that occurs throughout the night. In healthy sleep, you cycle through light sleep, stages 1 to 2, deeper sleep, stage 3, also called slow wave sleep, and REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, where dreaming occurs. Each complete cycle lasts approximately 90 minutes, and a full night of healthy sleep contains 4 to 5 complete cycles. This architecture is absolutely critical because different stages accomplish different restorative functions. Light sleep serves as a transition. Deep sleep is where cellular repair accelerates, immune function strengthens, and growth hormone reaches its peak levels. REM sleep is where memory consolidation occurs, emotional processing happens, and cognitive function is restored. When cortisol remains elevated throughout the night, it prevents your nervous system from ever fully relaxing into these deeper stages. Your sympathetic nervous system, designed for emergency response, continues firing, keeping your brain in a state of partial alertness. You may drift into light sleep occasionally, but whenever you approach deeper stages, the elevated cortisol triggers micro-awakenings that fragment your sleep. You spend the night cycling through stages 1 and 2, never dropping into the regenerative deep sleep or achieving sufficient REM sleep. This creates a paradoxical experience. You lie in bed for 8 hours, yet wake feeling completely unrefreshed because your sleep lacked restorative architecture. When cortisol drops appropriately through adequate glycogen provision, something remarkable shifts. Your nervous system finally receives permission to activate the parasympathetic response. Your brain waves slow, your body temperature drops. You descend progressively into deeper sleep stages without disruption. You experience genuine deep sleep, sometimes for the first time in years, where cellular repair accelerates and growth hormone surges. You cycle through adequate REM sleep, where emotional and cognitive processing occurs. You complete full 90-minute cycles repeatedly throughout the night. You wake naturally after 8 hours, not because time passed, but because your body completed its restorative work and your nervous system naturally shifted into wakefulness. The parasympathetic nervous system represents your body's rest and digest response, the counterbalance to your fight or flight sympathetic activation. While your sympathetic nervous system is designed for emergencies, rapid heart rate, heightened alertness, muscle tension, digestive shutdown, your parasympathetic system governs recovery, healing, digestion, and restorative sleep. These two systems operate in opposition. When one activates strongly, the other must quiet. For genuine sleep to occur, your parasympathetic system must achieve dominance, and this dominance is mediated primarily through the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve in your body that directly controls heart rate, digestive function, and nervous system tone. Vagal tone, the strength and responsiveness of your vagus nerve, determines how readily your body can shift from sympathetic activation into parasympathetic rest. High vagal tone means your body can quickly transition from stress response to recovery mode. Low vagal tone, common in chronically stressed seniors, means your nervous system remains stuck in partial activation even during sleep attempts. Honey triggers vagal tone activation through multiple mechanisms. The glucose and fructose in honey are recognized by specialized receptors in your digestive tract that signal nutrient availability to your brainstem. This signal travels via the vagus nerve, communicating safety and abundance. Simultaneously, honey contains specific polyphenols and trace minerals, particularly zinc and magnesium, that directly enhance vagal signaling capacity. Within 20-30 minutes of honey consumption, measurable physiological shifts occur. Your heart rate decreases as parasympathetic tone increases. Your digestive system activates as blood flow redirects from muscles to your gut. Your body temperature drops slightly as your physiology shifts into rest mode. Your breathing naturally deepens and slows. Your muscles begin releasing accumulated tension. Most critically, your nervous system receives a cascading signal. Nutrients are available, survival is assured, rest is permitted. This is not a subtle shift. Your entire physiology reorganizes from emergency response into healing and recovery mode. This vagal activation is the biological gateway through which genuine sleep becomes possible. Glycogen depletion represents the biochemical root cause of nighttime cortisol elevation and sleep disruption in aging adults. Your brain is metabolically voracious, consuming approximately 120 grams of glucose daily, despite representing only 2% of body weight. This enormous energy demand exists because your brain is constantly firing neurons, maintaining consciousness, processing memories, regulating hormones, and controlling every autonomous function, keeping you alive. Unlike muscle tissue, which can utilize fatty acids and ketones for energy during fasting, your brain is almost exclusively glucose dependent. It cannot function on fat. It cannot run on protein directly. It requires glucose, and this glucose must come from somewhere, especially during sleep when you're not consuming food. Your liver maintains glycogen reserves specifically for this purpose, to sustain brain glucose supply during overnight fasting. Throughout your day, as you think, remember, and process information, you systematically deplete these liver glycogen stores. A typical day of moderate mental activity can deplete 50–75% of liver glycogen reserves. By late evening, after a full day of cognitive engagement, especially if you've experienced stress, which accelerates glycogen utilization, your liver glycogen stores are critically low. Your brain still requires fuel. Sleep lasts 8 hours. Without adequate glycogen, your brain faces genuine glucose shortage. Your body's emergency response to this shortage is cortisol release. Cortisol triggers gluconeogenesis, the conversion of muscle tissue into glucose. Your muscles are catabolized to provide glucose for your brain. This is an ancient survival mechanism, appropriate during genuine famine, but entirely unnecessary when the solution is simply 1 tablespoon of honey providing 17 grams of glucose. This specific amount is precisely calibrated to restore liver glycogen to adequate levels. When liver glycogen is adequate, your brain's fuel needs are met. The gluconeogenesis signal never activates. Cortisol production remains at its naturally low nighttime level. Your nervous system receives no metabolic emergency signal. Your body can relax completely, knowing fuel is abundant and sleep is genuinely safe. The hormone cascade optimization principle describes how one primary physiological shift, normalized cortisol dropping at night, triggers a synchronized sequence of beneficial hormonal changes that compound throughout the night and have effects extending into daytime hours. This cascade represents your body's natural healing sequence, refined through millions of years of evolution. When cortisol appropriately declines in the evening, it removes the biochemical suppression that keeps other hormones dormant. Cortisol is immunosuppressive. It reduces immune function as a necessary trade-off for emergency response. Cortisol inhibits melatonin production by keeping your nervous system in alert mode. Cortisol suppresses growth hormone release. When cortisol drops, these suppressions lift simultaneously, triggering a coordinated hormonal symphony. As cortisol decreases, your pineal gland receives permission to produce melatonin, your brain's darkness hormone. Melatonin serves as far more than a sleep inducer. It's one of the most powerful antioxidants your body produces, directly protecting your brain from oxidative damage. Melatonin simultaneously signals your body that rest and recovery mode is appropriate. As melatonin rises and you enter deep sleep stages, your anterior pituitary gland releases growth hormone in concentrated pulses. Growth hormone is often called the youth hormone because it directly stimulates cellular repair, muscle protein synthesis, bone mineralization, and fat metabolism. Growth hormone also enhances immune function by promoting thymic cell production, the specialized immune cells that protect you from infection and disease. These hormones activate additional cascades. Growth hormone stimulates insulin-like growth factor, IGF-1, which enhances cellular regeneration throughout your body. Melatonin and deep sleep activate your immune system's natural killer cells and lymphocytes, strengthening immunity. Your glymphatic system, your brain's waste clearance mechanism, functions primarily during deep sleep, removing accumulated metabolic byproducts and damaged proteins. Inflammation decreases throughout your body as immune cells shift from alert mode to recovery mode. This entire cascade initiates from one simple trigger: adequate glycogen, allowing cortisol to drop naturally. Supplements cannot replicate this because supplements cannot initiate genuine physiological signals. Only real food, recognized by your ancient biology, can trigger these coordinated beneficial cascades. Neurotransmitters are biochemical messengers that enable communication between neurons throughout your brain and nervous system. Your sleep capacity depends entirely on adequate levels of specific calming neurotransmitters, primarily serotonin and GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid. Serotonin is your mood-regulating neurotransmitter, responsible for emotional stability, contentment, and the neurochemical foundation of sleep. Your brain produces serotonin from the amino acid tryptophan, but this process requires specific cofactors and substrates. GABA is your primary inhibitory neurotransmitter, directly activating your parasympathetic nervous system and creating the neurochemical state of calm. GABA is produced from the amino acid glutamate through enzymatic conversion, a process requiring specific minerals and cofactors. Honey provides critical support for both neurotransmitter pathways simultaneously. The carbohydrates in honey trigger insulin release, which facilitates tryptophan entry into your brain by reducing competition from other amino acids. This allows tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier efficiently and become available for serotonin synthesis. Simultaneously, honey contains bioavailable minerals, particularly magnesium and zinc, that directly activate the enzymes responsible for neurotransmitter synthesis. Magnesium is a required cofactor for the enzyme glutaminase, which converts glutamate into GABA. Zinc activates aromatic amino acid decarboxylase, the enzyme converting tryptophan into serotonin. These minerals exist in honey in naturally chelated, highly absorbable forms. Furthermore, honey contains B vitamins, particularly pyridoxine and pantothenic acid, that serve as cofactors in neurotransmitter synthesis pathways. The polyphenols in honey enhance neurotransmitter receptor sensitivity, making your existing neurotransmitters more effective. This represents a fundamentally different approach than pharmaceutical sleep medications, which artificially suppress neurotransmitter reuptake or force receptor activation. Honey works with your natural neurochemistry, providing the substrates and mineral cofactors your body needs to synthesize adequate quantities of genuine calming neurotransmitters. Your brain produces these molecules at physiologically appropriate levels, creating natural tranquilization without the dependency, side effects, or morning grogginess associated with sleep medications. Adrenal gland burnout, also called adrenal exhaustion, represents a state of physiological depletion where your adrenal glands, small glands sitting atop your kidneys responsible for cortisol production, become chronically overtaxed and lose their capacity to produce adequate hormones. Your adrenal glands are designed to handle acute stress. They release cortisol in response to genuine emergencies, then recover when the emergency passes. However, in modern aging bodies experiencing chronic stress, worry, poor sleep, inflammatory diet, and financial concerns, your adrenal glands never get recovery periods. They're perpetually activated, continuously producing cortisol to meet perceived threats. This creates a profound problem. Cortisol production is metabolically expensive. It requires specific nutrients, particularly vitamin C, B vitamins, magnesium, and cholesterol to manufacture. When your adrenals are constantly producing cortisol, they become depleted of these essential building blocks. Simultaneously, the chronic cortisol elevation impairs sleep quality, preventing the deep sleep stages where your adrenals actually recover and regenerate. This creates a vicious cycle. Poor sleep from elevated cortisol leads to greater stress, requiring more cortisol production, which further impairs sleep, leading to greater adrenal depletion. When cortisol remains elevated throughout the night due to inadequate glycogen, your adrenals receive no genuine recovery period. Even during sleep, they're partially activated, producing cortisol. Your adrenals never fully rest. Over months and years, this creates profound exhaustion. Many seniors describe this as persistent fatigue that no amount of sleep improves, because they're never actually sleeping deeply enough for adrenal recovery. 1 tablespoon of honey nightly creates a double recovery mechanism. First, adequate glycogen allows cortisol to drop appropriately at night, removing the constant activation signal from your adrenals. Second, the improved sleep quality allows genuine deep sleep where your adrenals receive metabolic recovery. Your body redirects resources toward adrenal regeneration rather than stress response. Within weeks, adrenal function normalizes. Cortisol production becomes appropriate and rhythmic. Energy returns. The exhaustion cycle breaks. Your aging body remembers what genuine recovery feels like. Insulin sensitivity refers to how effectively your cells respond to insulin signaling, your body's ability to regulate blood glucose and transport glucose into cells for energy. When your cells are insulin sensitive, your pancreas needs only small amounts of insulin to manage blood glucose. When your cells become insulin resistant, your pancreas must produce increasingly large amounts of insulin to achieve the same glucose management, creating a metabolically exhausting state. Chronic elevated cortisol directly impairs insulin sensitivity through multiple mechanisms. Cortisol activates hepatic gluconeogenesis, the conversion of stored nutrients into glucose, flooding your bloodstream with glucose independent of food intake. This constant glucose abundance causes your cells to downregulate insulin receptors as a protective mechanism against excessive glucose exposure. Additionally, cortisol promotes abdominal fat accumulation, particularly visceral fat, which secretes inflammatory compounds that directly impair insulin receptor function throughout your body. This cortisol-driven insulin resistance creates profound sleep disruption. Blood glucose instability triggers hunger signals and energy dysregulation throughout the night. Your blood glucose rises and crashes unpredictably, sending conflicting metabolic signals to your brain. These glucose fluctuations activate your sympathetic nervous system repeatedly during the night, fragmenting sleep and preventing deep sleep stage progression. Moreover, insulin resistance impairs tryptophan transport into your brain, reducing serotonin and melatonin production. Your body cannot synthesize adequate sleep hormones when insulin signaling is dysfunctional. 1 tablespoon of honey addresses this dual dysfunction simultaneously. The glucose in honey is rapidly absorbed, triggering insulin release, but this insulin response is moderate and physiological, not excessive. This moderate insulin elevation actually enhances insulin sensitivity by signaling your cells that glucose is available and should be accepted. Simultaneously, the moderate glucose rise combined with honey's polyphenols and minerals improves insulin receptor expression and function. As insulin sensitivity improves over nights of consistent honey consumption, your blood glucose stabilization improves. Your body's glucose signals become consistent and reliable. Your nervous system receives stable metabolic signals throughout the night. Your cortisol normalizes because your metabolism is genuinely stable. Your sleep deepens because your neurochemistry supports it. Sustained release melatonin activation describes a fundamental difference between how your body produces melatonin naturally versus how melatonin supplements function. Melatonin is your body's darkness hormone, produced by your pineal gland in response to specific physiological signals indicating that rest is appropriate. Your body produces melatonin in precise physiologically calibrated amounts based on environmental darkness, circadian rhythm timing, and specific neurochemical signals triggered by adequate nutrition and nervous system relaxation. This natural production creates melatonin levels that rise gradually over 1 to 2 hours, plateau at optimal concentrations throughout sleep, and decline naturally as morning approaches, allowing natural wakefulness without artificial grogginess. Melatonin supplements operate entirely differently. A typical melatonin tablet provides 3 to 10 milligrams, often far exceeding what your body naturally produces. This creates a sharp spike in blood melatonin levels within 30-60 minutes. Your body receives an artificial signal of extreme darkness and sleep imperative. You may fall asleep quickly, but this sleep is neurochemically artificial. Your brain is experiencing pharmaceutical suppression rather than genuine physiological sleep. After 4-6 hours, the melatonin metabolizes and clears from your bloodstream, creating a crash. Many people wake at this point experiencing grogginess, confusion, or disrupted sleep continuation. Chronic melatonin supplementation also downregulates your pineal gland's natural production capacity. Your body recognizes that melatonin is being supplied exogenously, so it produces less endogenously. This creates dependency where your natural melatonin production deteriorates over weeks and months. Honey triggers your body's own melatonin production through multiple cascading mechanisms. The glucose signals adequate fuel availability. Your nervous system activates parasympathetic tone through vagal signaling. Your body temperature drops slightly, signaling darkness to your brain. Serotonin increases from tryptophan availability. These genuine physiological signals activate your pineal gland to produce melatonin gradually and naturally. The melatonin rises slowly, creating sustainable sleep throughout the night. Your brain recognizes these as authentic darkness signals, not pharmaceutical forcing. Sleep quality remains genuine and restorative. Morning awakening occurs naturally without grogginess. Most importantly, your body's melatonin production capacity strengthens with nightly activation rather than deteriorating from dependency. We've journeyed through a remarkable body of science tonight, but I want to distill it down to something profoundly simple. Your body already knows how to sleep. You haven't lost that capacity. You've simply been fighting against your own biology for years, perhaps decades. Your adrenal glands have been screaming for rest. Your nervous system has been begging for permission to relax. Your brain has been desperate for adequate fuel during sleep hours, and you've responded by taking medications, trying supplements, and implementing complicated sleep hygiene protocols. All of that effort has been fighting against the fundamental problem. Your liver glycogen was empty, your cortisol was elevated, and your body couldn't rest because it didn't feel safe. That changes tonight. Not with pharmaceutical intervention, not with expensive treatments, not with complicated procedures, with 1 tablespoon of honey. This isn't about luck. This isn't about hoping something works. This is about understanding your physiology and providing exactly what your body needs to function optimally. 1 tablespoon of honey provides the glucose signal your ancient biology needs to feel secure. It allows cortisol to drop. It permits your nervous system to activate parasympathetic rest. It triggers your pineal gland to produce melatonin naturally. It initiates growth hormone release. It activates immune function. It begins cellular repair. All of this cascades from 1 simple action, taken consistently every single night. I want you to understand something crucial. You are not broken. Your body is not failing. You haven't lost the capacity to sleep. You've been running a marathon while your brain was starving for fuel. That's not a disease. That's a solvable problem. And the solution is so simple it seems impossible until you try it and experience the transformation yourself. The sleep you'll recover isn't just rest, it's restoration. It's your body's opportunity to repair itself, to strengthen immunity, to consolidate memories, to process emotions, to renew your capacity for joy and engagement with life. 8 hours of genuine sleep changes everything. Your energy, your mood, your cognition, your relationships, your sense of possibility about your future. Many of you have resigned yourselves to believing that poor sleep is simply part of aging. That's a lie that serves the sleep medication industry beautifully. Your aging body doesn't lose the capacity to sleep deeply. It loses the metabolic support that permits sleep. Restore that support with 1 tablespoon of honey, and your capacity for deep sleep returns. What you're about to experience when you implement this nightly is the recovery of something you may have thought was permanently lost. You're going to rediscover what 8 hours of genuine sleep feels like. You're going to wake naturally, without an alarm, without grogginess, without that crushing fatigue. You're going to remember what it feels like to feel genuinely rested. Your sleep matters, your health matters, your vitality matters. And I genuinely believe that you have the capacity right now today to reclaim what you thought was lost. 1 tablespoon at a time, night after night, building toward the fullness of health and vitality you deserve. I'm genuinely grateful for the opportunity to share this information with you. I'm grateful for your openness. I'm grateful for your commitment to your own well-being. And I'm genuinely excited about the transformation you're about to experience. Go forward with confidence. Trust your body. Trust the simplicity of real food. Trust that 1 tablespoon of honey taken consistently will restore what aging has temporarily stolen, the gift of deep restorative sleep. Your nights are about to change. Your days are about to transform. Your life is about to become fuller, richer, and more vibrant than you've experienced in years. I'm rooting for you. I believe in your capacity to heal. And I know that your future self, rested, energized, and thriving, is already grateful that you made this decision tonight. With deep respect, genuine hope, and wholehearted belief in your healing, thank you. Sleep well, and welcome back to the gift of genuine rest.